So, getting into the Age of Ultron Prelude comic, that is to say, this tie in, the first thing we need to establish here is that for those of you guys who are unaware, ever since Marvel first introduced the Marvel Cinematic Universe, since it was launched with Iron Man 1, Marvel's been systematically, releasing various comic book tie ins for a lot of these films. We, of course, saw a prelude for Thor the Dark World. We know that there's a couple preludes coming up for Ant Man, and these are designed to kind of fill in the blanks, but not really give us the whole story. Age of Ultron is a perfect example. With the Age of Ultron tie-in, what we find, I guess, over the course of this story is that this comic seems to take place over the course of maybe the very beginnings of Captain America the Winter Soldier, throughout the movie, and then at the end. But I would say if it really does encompass this window, it's a very small compass. That is to say that it takes place immediately before, during, and immediately after. But what we know is that, of course, over the course of the events of Captain America the Winter Soldier, that Hydra was basically in control of S.H.I.E.L.D. They've been slowly infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D. for years, and this was finally the time under Alexander Pierce for them to make their move. And so as a result, what we find is that after the events of Avengers, that S.H.I.E.L.D. was in possession of Loki's staff, but one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who was monitoring the staff had gone rogue, and as a result, when it was revealed that he was part of Hydra, had handed the staff over to Baron von Strucker. Now, if you recall the end of Captain America the Winter Soldier, we had seen that Baron von Strucker was basically talking about how this was the age of miracles, which again is really Marvel's way of basically saying mutants are being introduced to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They simply just can't call them mutants. And so as a result, we had, I guess it had been revealed to us that Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were part of the process. And so what this comic does is more or less tell us how it was they became part of the fold. What we find is that apparently Hydra under Baron von Strucker is operating out of some kind of war-torn country called Sokovia. Now, my geography is not the best in the world, and so I'm not really sure if Sokovia is actually a country or not, but I would go as far as to say that it's probably a fictional location. But what we know is that because this country is war-torn, of course, there are various people who are protesting and so on, and the Scarlet Witch are revealed to be a couple of them. Now, what Baron von Strucker tells us here is that his goal, I guess his immediate goal, seemed to be to develop some kind of weapon systems based on the staff of Loki. That is to say, some kind of guns that can be used by the staff being powered or perhaps in some way tied to the Tesseract. But what we also see is that Baron von Strucker's bigger goal here is to perhaps create some measure of super soldiers who have abilities based on the power of the staff. And so when the question is asked of him, how is it he's going to go about being able to round people up to move into human testing, what he says is they're surrounded by people in this war-torn country who want to take their country back. Now, we don't know if the country is, I guess, being occupied, or if those who are oppressing these people are Hydra themselves, or if Hydra is simply just operating out of this country and they're bribing the government to allow that to keep happening, or if in fact they control the government. These are things that really aren't given to us, but what Baron von Strucker says is that they should go out and basically start rounding these people up. And that's what happens. What they do is entice them by simply saying that if they want to take their country back, that Hydra has the means for them to do it. And so among the people who were brought into this program are Pietro and Wanda Maximoff. Now, with the Scarlet Witch, her powers are a little more complicated here. Of course, citing her role in the comics, we know that as time progressed leading up to Avengers Disassembled, she had basically been altering reality. We're not really told if that's the case here. What we're told is that her power consists of two components. The first one is neuroelectric sensitivity, and the second is microcellular manipulation. Now, we don't know if by virtue of her microcellular manipulation, if she's able to control the human body, that is to say the biology and the cells that compose bodies, or if she can control batteries. And the reason why I say that is because when it comes to the concept of microcellular, it's split into those two categories. Microcellular can very well be the things that make up batteries. It's what makes up, battery-based components and allows batteries to function. So she could simply be able to manipulate the life of batteries, which would be a pretty lackluster ability in truth. But I would go as far as to say that her ability with regards to microcellular manipulation is the ability to control microcells, or I guess very basic cells that contain a nucleus and proteins, just enough to basically keep it alive. Now, the other half of this is, of course, again, her neuroelectric sensitivity. Now, this, I think, really points to the trailer that we had seen where the Incredible Hulk was going on a rampage fighting against Tony Stark with red rings around his eyes. I would go as far as to say that under neuroelectric sensitivity, she's able to basically control the minds of others. And the reason I say that is because neuro immediately tells me that it has to do with the mind, and electric means it probably has to do with the electrical impulses that are sent from the brain to the rest of the body in order for the body to do what it needs to do. And so she can probably control the mind and by extension control the actions of other people. But again, this is all just a lot of speculation here. We're really not sure about a lot of these different things. The whole purpose of this tie-in is to basically get us prepared for what's going to be coming in the movie, to sort of set this very basic landscape in the events as far as they lead up to the Avengers 2 Age of Ultron. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring this video to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, let me know, and I will catch you guys later. Peace. Be sure to follow me on Twitter. There you can keep up with all the updates from Comics Explained and talk to me directly.